Hi, it's Thad from Willoway. We're in the beginning of November here. We still have kind of seasonally warm weather here, but this time of year we have to make sure we're starting to put things away because we never know what the weather's going to do. But there's a number of things that are important this time of year out in the yard that we're really watching for. One is with evergreens, especially B&B, but even in the potted stuff, is making sure we're adequately watering it. It needs to stay moist. It's really important to keep evergreens hydrated well going into the winter. That will reduce your chance of having winter burn over the winter into early spring. So one of the things that we do is we're going to check the ball, make sure that it's soft and that it's got moisture in it that's adequate. If it's hard and chalky, you're not getting enough water to it. Remember, like a spruce like this is going to shed water real easily, so you have to make sure that your water time is getting a good penetration or doing some supplemental hand watering with it. But you'll see a little needle drop on the inside, especially this time of year. Like white pines will start to, the interior needles will start to yellow. That's normal with evergreens to lose some of the interior needles in the fall. They have, depending on which evergreen you're talking about, certain length of time needles stay on those plants. So want to watch or check for that as you are out. If you see some interior needle drop, that's not a bad thing always. So be watchful on that. Some of the other things that we're really looking for right now too is if they've been sitting at any length of time, make sure that they're not touching each other or grow tight together, or they push that growth out earlier in the year. That will start to actually die out and create holes in the plants. Some of the other things is just making sure you have a spot picked out to winter them at. So that could be that you're going to put these in a house, unheated. You're going to put them in a bed and maybe put a little mulch around them. Or if you're in a little warmer climate, sometimes you can just put them consolidate the bed a little bit, leave them light spaced, and just winter them above ground. You really got to make that decision based on what the plant is. Picea are generally a little hardier. If you've got some plants like arborvitae, water is probably a big concern in the wintertime as well. We do pot and pot, we'll stick them in the ground. If it's above ground here, we usually consolidate them into a house and then we have to water them throughout the winter. Typically, depending on how the winter goes, we're looking at about up to 5 times in the winter. That December, January, February before we take the plastic off the house. So make sure that you do have some way to water the evergreens if you're gonna keep them in a house over the winter. Hi, we went into one of our houses, kind of picking up on getting things ready for winter again. We have a sambucus crop here that's young canning we did in the fall. And so we tent these, and what we do is we have these wire guides that we made, and then we just use a piece of twine over the top. And what happens is we pull the plastic, we lay that in before we cover the house, and we just bring it over. And what that does is that gives us the ability to keep a little more heat, the ground heat from underneath, to keep them a little warmer. And what that's trying to do is just basically so they don't get a hard freeze, they stay pretty even keel, they cool down slowly, and then they don't get as cold as what it would be outside. And with the 2 layers, like a thermal pane, so you get a little bit of protection from those extremes going back and forth. And we've monitored that with some of our hobo temperature sensors, that we can see there's much more consistency underneath the plastic. You'll watch it drop real slowly versus like inside here, it fluctuates radically based on what the sun is doing outside. If it's a cooler day, it'll stay a little cooler in here, but as the sun comes out, you'll see it get much warmer in here. But you do not see that when we have the 2 layers of plastic inside the house. We don't do it on everything. It's just certain plants that we do it on. I want to talk a little bit, I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video about some of our sensors. We employ 2 types of sensors really, well 3 primarily. They're all on the hobo platform. This one particular right here is a solar powered rechargeable battery. We also have non-solar but on battery. Batteries last about a year. This actually, the probe that goes into one of the pots here in the hydrangea. For example, we would just slide it right in at the base like that, and what it does is sends constant readings to our hobo system that's online, and we can actually interpret what the moisture inside the pot is. It's really important for us to be able to know what our watering's doing, what water holding capacity of the pot is, how fast the dry down in it. So this gives us a really good way to, in real time, to actually see what's going on in this house. Since we have several houses that are set up like this, they're all hydrangea macrophylla, we can extrapolate that this information would be fairly similar to all the other ones, since they're all the same size pots and same age plants. So we get a little variation. Now if we did on the south side of this house versus the north side, there is a slight difference. We try to shoot somewhere more in the middle of the house, up towards the doorway, or someplace that would give us good information that we can start to make decisions before it becomes critical mass. We also have a temperature probe. They're set up very much like this, the online ones, but it has the end is just a metal cylinder, and you want to keep that out of direct sunlight. It's really important because that will heat up and you'll get false readings out of it. So we usually bury that down in the rice hulls or a little bit into the dirt, and that's fine with it, stainless steel. And that will tell us, we use that for sweating roses, sweating some red buds when we do that. We also use it for temperature data inside the house to know how much temperature swing we're getting in a house, especially when we're doing forced crops, or we want to study, like in a graft house situation, what the soil temperatures are doing versus the top of the temperature in the house. So we have lots of different applications that we use these for in the growing operation. So we have a pretty good unit. We have about 30 of these. So it helps us really get a lot of different information, makes us make better decisions with the growing here at Willoway.